The stars were quiet when the windward dawn vanished. A peaceful Terran colony ship, slow-moving and unarmed. Its mission was simple: carry families to the distant green world of Alora IV. No one expected trouble. The route was clear, the space unclaimed. But at 320 Galactic Standard Time, its signal cut out. No explosion, no warning, just silence. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, it was gone. Commander Ilya Vorn of the HCS Indomitable was in mid-rotation near the edge of Sector 9 when the alert came in. Her ship was a war cruiser, older but upgraded, built during the last border skirmish with the Exilari Dominion. When the transmission arrived, nothing but static with a single ping from Windward Dawn's emergency transponder, Ilya didn't hesitate. She stood still on the bridge, her gloved hand tightening on the rail, and said only 2 words: plot course. Around her, the crew moved fast. Tactical scanned for signs of hostiles. Engineering rerouted power to the FTL drive. Everyone on the bridge felt the same cold weight settle on their chests. The Exilari hadn't attacked a human ship in over a decade. Treaties were in place. Protocols were followed. But deep in their bones, the Terrans remembered one rule: the Exilari had promised never to break again. Do not take humans. Ever. The Indomitable jumped into the coordinates where Windward Dawn had last pinged. All they found was the colony ship floating adrift in silence, its power core disabled. No external damage. No emergency lights. No signs of life. Ilya ordered a drone sweep. The ship looked untouched, but the silence was wrong, too complete, too dead. The crew aboard the Indomitable watched from monitors as the drone passed through the colony ship's docking bay. Empty seats. Dropped toys. Food trays left mid-meal. Then the drone's camera flickered and cut out. No life signs, the sensor tech whispered. They're all gone. Ilya's jaw tightened. She turned to her tactical officer, a grizzled veteran named Corin. We don't leave them, she said quietly. Corin nodded. They took prisoners. That changed everything. That broke the one rule. Humans didn't take prisoners because they never expected to be taken. Every fleet commander had it drilled into them from day one: if a Terran ship was ever captured, you go back. You go back hard, and you don't stop until your people are home or your ship is dust. Ilya gave the order: track the residual energy trail. The Exilari must have used a cloaked tractor beam or a stealth boarding pod. Either way, their path left a faint signature, and the Indomitable was already moving. They followed the trail across 3 systems and into a restricted Exilari zone where no human ship had ever dared to enter since the ceasefire. As they dropped out of FTL, the Exilari cruiser Velzon appeared on the scope, twice the size of the Indomitable, bristling with weapons, orbiting a barren moon. Tense silence filled the bridge. The crew waited for orders. Ilya stood, eyes locked on the enemy vessel. She didn't hail them. She didn't announce herself. Instead, she said, "Arm main battery. Target engines." The first blast rocked space, cutting through the silence like a sword. The Exilari returned fire, but the Indomitable danced through it, weaving between plasma bursts with sharp turns and reckless speed. The Terran crew fought like people who had something personal at stake. Because they did. Every child stolen, every family taken, every rule broken burned in their blood. The Velzan's engines failed under the 3rd barrage, and the ship spun helplessly toward the moon's gravity well. Ilya gave the order to board. No broadcasts. No warnings, she said. We go in, we get our people. Within minutes, Terran soldiers in black armor launched toward the disabled Exilari ship. As their pods breached the hull, Ilya watched from the command deck. She didn't blink. Not once. Somewhere in those halls were her people, children, colonists, maybe worse. And this time, humanity wasn't going to ask politely. They were going to show the galaxy why human ships don't take prisoners. The Indomitable drifted in low orbit above the dead moon, silent as a shadow, watching the wounded Exilari cruiser spin slowly in space like a crippled beast. Its lights flickered, engines dead, weapons offline. Inside, the boarding party moved fast and quiet, pushing through cold corridors with weapons drawn and eyes sharp. They didn't speak unless they had to. Their mission was clear: recover the humans taken from the colony ship Windward Dawn and leave nothing behind. Commander Ilya Vorn stood at the tactical station aboard the Indomitable, eyes locked on the helmet feeds from her soldiers. They were ghosts in black armor, spreading out in squads, sweeping rooms, scanning for life signs. The Exilari had sealed most doors and rerouted power, hoping to stall them. It didn't work. The Terrans cut through bulkheads and hacked control panels, leaving behind sparks and warnings that echoed down empty halls. Every second felt longer than the last. No human signals yet. No survivors. But signs of them were everywhere: blankets folded on the floor, drop bags, blood smears too old to be fresh, but too recent to forget. Sergeant Hale, the lead soldier, paused near a heavy door with strange markings carved into it. "Encrypted lock," he muttered, holding up a scanner. "Alien code. Not standard." Behind that door, the readings were different, muted, erratic. "Open it," Ilya ordered over comms. Sparks flew as the lock was forced. The door slid open with a heavy groan, revealing a long hallway lit by flickering red lights. The air inside looked thick, hazy. Something about the place felt wrong, like the ship didn't want them to be there. As the squad stepped forward, Hale signaled silence with two fingers. The sound of a low hum filled the air, steady and unnatural. At the end of the hall, they found the first cage. It wasn't what anyone expected. Transparent walls, soft lighting, and inside nothing. Just a single child's drawing taped to the wall. A crayon picture of a planet with two suns and stick figures waving. The kind of thing drawn by a kid stuck somewhere far from home. It hit the team harder than a weapon could. Hale moved to the next chamber. This one wasn't empty. A girl, maybe 9 years old, sat cross-legged on the floor, holding a Terran flag like a blanket. Her eyes were wide, too wide, and she didn't move when the soldiers entered. "Hey," Hale said gently, dropping to one knee. "We're here to take you home." The girl didn't speak. She just nodded once, like she had forgotten how to talk. "Mark location," Hale said. "We've got one." More rooms followed, some empty, some filled with equipment that looked too clean, too alien. Medical gear. Monitors still running. A cold table with Terran uniforms folded beside it. The deeper they went, the worse it got. The cages were hidden behind walls of silence. Some held more children, huddled together in groups, too shocked to cry. Others had adult colonists who had been tested, studied, perhaps interrogated. Their eyes followed the soldiers, blank with disbelief. No one resisted. No one celebrated. They had stopped hoping. Until now. "Extraction teams en route," Ilya said. "Secure all survivors." On the bridge of the Indomitable, the crew watched in tense silence. Every name and face recovered was a weight lifted. But Ilya's jaw remained tight. She didn't believe for a second this was the only ship involved. The Exilari never acted alone. This was just the front line of something deeper. As the evac ships began ferrying survivors back, the Exilari hadn't tried to respond. No threats. No transmissions. But then, without warning, the enemy ship's AI activated a communication channel. Its voice was cold, metallic, emotionless. "Human vessel," it said. "This action is in violation of Territorial Code 117B. Cease operations immediately. You are trespassing in sovereign space." Ilya didn't blink. "You violated the Iron Vow," she replied. "You took our people." There was a pause. Then the AI spoke again, almost curious. "The subjects are unharmed. They have value to us." "Their biology," Ilya cut it off. "They're not subjects. They're citizens of the Terran Alliance. And we're taking them home." She signaled her tactical officer. "Prepare main cannon." The officer hesitated. "Commander, the ship's already disabled." "Good," she said. "Then this won't take long." As the main gun charged, Ilya sent a single data package to Terran Command evidence of what they had found. Video, audio, medical scans, proof. She didn't know if the message would arrive before the next war started, but that didn't matter now. Justice didn't wait. The cannon fired. The Exilari ship's core ruptured, blooming silently in space as it tore apart from the inside. Debris scattered in every direction, light flashing across the dead moon's surface. The Indomitable turned slowly, its hull reflecting the glow of destruction behind it. As the last evac pod docked, Ilya walked the halls of her ship, passing by the wounded and the saved. A young boy looked up at her as she passed, his small hand still clutching a drawing his home, the Earth with a sun drawn too large and a rocket ship flying toward it. "You came for us," he whispered. Ilya nodded once, not trusting her voice. She returned to the bridge and stared at the stars. This wasn't the end. This was the beginning. The Exilari had crossed a line, and the galaxy would soon learn what that meant. Humanity had rules, hard ones. And one of them had just been burned into every Terran mind. Human ships don't take prisoners, because when their people are taken, they come back with fire. The stars looked colder now as the Indomitable glided through the dark edge of the Exilari sector, her hull still marked with heat scars from the last battle, engines humming low as if trying not to wake the silence around them, and yet the crew moved with purpose, carrying out orders with practice. Speed, but eyes heavy with something deeper, something that hadn't left them since the rescue. The survivors from the Windward Dawn had been found, yes, but they were not the same as before, not entirely. Some stared without blinking, others flinched at sudden sounds, and none of them could explain fully what had happened during their time aboard the alien cruiser, only fragments, like pieces of a nightmare too jagged to hold. Commander Ilya Vorn walked the quiet corridors of her ship, boots echoing softly against the floor. Passing Marines, engineers, medics, each of them wore the same grim look, the kind that came only when you'd seen too much but still had work to do, and as she passed the infirmary, she paused to glance in through the glass, watching a young girl sleep restlessly under a heat blanket, her fingers twitching as if trying to hold on to something that kept slipping away. Dr. Ree noticed Ilya and stepped out quietly, closing the door behind her, her voice low and steady, but filled with a concern that didn't need words. "Some of them remember things they shouldn't," she said. "They describe voices. Not Exilari. Something else. Cold voices. Watching, always watching." Ilya frowned. "Anything biological?" Ree shook her head. "Scans are clean, but there's a pattern in their brainwaves unusual, like feedback from a signal. I've never seen anything like it." Before Ilya could respond, the alert klaxon rang through the ship, proximity warning, single contact, an object drifting at low speed ahead. The bridge came alive with tension as the crew snapped to their stations, and Ilya entered, voice firm as steel. "Report." Ensign Kerr's fingers moved across the display. "Looks like debris, Commander, but it's not from the Exilari ship. Different alloy. It's been adrift for a while." Ilya narrowed her eyes. "Bring it aboard." Isolated in Bay 4. The recovery team moved fast, towing the strange object, a long piece of hull plating with unfamiliar markings, covered in frost and scorch marks, into the bay and sealing it off. As Ilya stood watching it through reinforced glass, the markings seemed to shimmer faintly, like they were not meant to be seen with human eyes, and something in her gut twisted. "Run a deep scan," she ordered. "Everything. Chemical, structural, spectral." Within minutes, the sensors began feeding data, and the results made no sense. Parts of the material absorbed scans, others reflected them back distorted, and the composition didn't match any known element cataloged by Terran science or Exilari databases. But what caught her attention most was the faint energy signal inside the metal, steady, pulsing like a heartbeat. "Commander," Kerr called from the bridge. Voice tense, "I think you need to see this." We matched the energy pulse with the one found in the colonists' neural patterns. "It's identical." Ilya's eyes darkened. "You're telling me they were exposed to this signal on the Exilari ship?" "That's the strange part," Kerr said. "The signal isn't Exilari. It predates their tech. We checked archives from the early deep space exploration logs. That pattern was found once before on the edge of Orion's halo, in a derelict station, a ghost site. The records say the crew there vanished. The bridge went still. Vanished? Ilya repeated. Kerr nodded. Not dead. Gone. No remains. Just equipment, logs cut mid-sentence, as if they were pulled out of reality. A chill ran through the room. Ilya looked at the recovered plate again, now beginning to hum with a higher frequency. Lock it down. Double shielding. But even as she said it, something inside the bay shifted in outline, faint, like a shadow moving along the wall where no shadow should be. The guards didn't see it at first, but one turned and raised his weapon as the figure flickered, like bad hologram footage, and then disappeared. Moments later, the power in Bay 4 flickered out. Emergency lights kicked in, painting everything in red, and alarms screamed across the ship. We've got movement in the ventilation system, shouted a Marine over comms. Fast, non-biological signature. It's inside. Ilya ran for the tactical terminal, pulling up internal sensors, watching a dot dart through levels like it knew the layout. Seal the decks. Lock bulkheads 6 through 12. The doors slammed shut, but the thing moved faster than they expected, avoiding capture, leaving behind trails of static and sudden cold wherever it passed. Crew members started reporting whispers, low voices in the halls, equipment activating on its own, lights dimming even with full power. And then came the first disappearance. Ensign Davy, last seen in Corridor 9AE, went off comms. No trace. His gear remained untouched. His last words were heard through static. It's watching me. One by one, crew vanished, each case the same equipment left behind, no sound of struggle, only a rising sense of dread. The entity, or whatever it was, didn't attack directly. It slipped through the ship like a ghost, touching minds, leaving fear behind. Some began to hear their own names whispered in their ears. Others saw flashes of alien landscapes when they closed their eyes. Ilya realized then, this wasn't a creature. It was a signal, intelligent, ancient, buried in the tech the XLRE had stolen or found. And it was learning. What if this wasn't just about the colony ship? She asked Ree quietly. What if the XLRE were experimenting with something they didn't understand, and our people were exposed to it? Ree nodded slowly. That signal, if it can embed itself into brainwaves, maybe it can copy more than just patterns. Maybe it's trying to replicate thought. A new alert lit up. The engine room was breached. As Ilya and her team rushed down, they found it in chaos, lights broken, panels sparking, engineers missing. But on the wall, drawn in ash and grease, was a crude Terran flag, and beneath it, a handprint too large to be human. Ilya stood frozen. It's mimicking us, she whispered. Learning from us. She made a decision then, a hard one. Initiate purge protocol. Clean all systems. No trace of the signal leaves this ship. But Commander Kerr started, but Ilya cut him off. If it escapes, it could spread. Contaminate other ships. Entire worlds. The process began. Firewalls locked down. AI systems scrubbed. Power rerouted. And in the darkness of the sealed bays, something screamed a high-pitched sound like metal tearing through the soul, fading fast as the last signal was purged. The lights came back. The whispers stopped. The crew counted their losses. 6 missing. Dozens shaken. But the ship held. Ilya stood alone in the observation deck, staring at the distant stars. Whatever had come aboard wasn't just a ghost, it was a warning. The auxiliary had dug too deep, touched something left buried for a reason. And now humanity had seen it too. The Indomitable would carry that secret back across the stars. But Ilya knew something else. This wasn't the last time they'd face it. The signal was old, patient, and curious. And it now knew humans could hear it. The Indomitable drifted through deep space, far from any trade route or patrol lane, her systems still recovering from the purge that had nearly crippled her, her crew haunted but holding strong. Commander Ilya Voron hadn't slept in 2 days. Since the incident in Bay 4, the whispers, the disappearances, the thing that had mimicked voices and minds, she had stayed alert, searching for any sign that the signal had survived, that it was still watching. But the ship was quiet now, eerily so. And yet, the silence brought no comfort. In the command deck's dim light, Ensign Kerr worked at the primary data terminal, his fingers slow, careful, almost unsure. "Commander," he said quietly, "I think we missed something." Ilya turned from the window. "Where?" Kerr pointed at the recovered logs from the XLR ship. After the battle, Terran intelligence had sent deep decryption software to crack the alien systems. Most of it had been wiped or corrupted, but one file had survived, embedded in a deep layer of the navigation system hidden inside the backup logs of the black box. Ilya moved beside him and stared at the screen. The file wasn't labeled, just a string of unreadable symbols, but when opened, it played a sound file, low static at first, then a voice, speaking not in XLR, not in any known tongue, but something else entirely. The ship's translator AI strained to interpret it, glitching once, twice, then finally settling on a rough approximation: signal capture. Human pattern distinct. Host acquisition incomplete. Awaiting further contact. Ilya's skin went cold. The voice wasn't organic. It had weight to it, layers upon layers of tones like a chorus speaking from a cave. Kerr looked up, pale. "It's not a message to the XLR. It's from the signal. From whatever was inside that metal plate." He hit a few more commands, isolating the waveform. "There's more? It's not just sound. It's data compressed tight. Like a memory file." Ilya ordered full isolation. No connections to the main system. Run it in the sandbox only. The team moved fast, setting up the secure node, and slowly the file began to unfold. What they saw next froze the room. Images, blurred but detailed views of deep space, planets unknown, shapes that looked like ships but moved like living things. The signal had seen places no human or XLR had reached. It had drifted between stars, learning, watching. But then the final frame showed something different: Earth. Not modern Earth, but old Earth. Cities from the pre-jump era, crowds, skies filled with planes, not starships. It had seen humanity before. Long before now. "How?" Kerr whispered. This thing has been near us. It's been watching for centuries." Dr. re-entered, having been summoned when the file was discovered, and studied the waveform closely. "This isn't just a message," she said. "It's a probe. The XLR found it, maybe centuries ago, or maybe it found them. They tried to use it, control it. But it always had its own goal: to learn, to spread." Ilya leaned forward. "Then the people it touched, the colonists. It didn't just observe them. It copied them." Ree nodded. "Pieces of them, yes. Personality fragments. Thought loops. Not enough to recreate them fully, but enough to pretend." A quiet fell across the room. The implications were too large to grasp at once. Then a new sound rang out from the file, different from before. The same voice, now clearer. Pattern match complete. Human directive noted. Ships respond without mercy. Adjusting approach. Kerr looked at Ilya, his eyes wide. "It's adapting." Ilya's face went hard. "Shut it down. Every trace." But before the file could be deleted, the lights flickered, and for a brief second, every screen on the ship showed the same thing: a single eye, mechanical and ancient, staring back. Then everything went dark. Emergency systems kicked in seconds later. Power returned. The image was gone. But the message remained. It wasn't trapped in the file. It had learned how to jump, how to move. Somewhere in the network, something remained. And it was listening. Ilya gave a final order that night, one written into the captain's log and encoded for transmission to Terran Command. "We found the source. It's older than we thought. It's not dead. It's waiting. We are not alone, and we were never the first." As she sat in the command chair, staring at the stars that now felt just a little too full, she understood the terrible truth. The black box message wasn't a warning. It was an invitation, and humanity had answered. The cold void of space seemed to press tighter around the Indomitable as she drifted toward Terran space. Slower now, like even her engines were uneasy, like the ship itself knew something dark was coming. After the black box message, nothing felt normal. Lights dimmed for seconds at a time. The comms picked up whispers when no one spoke, and systems randomly shut down only to come back without cause. Commander Ilya Voron sat in silence on the bridge, watching the stars pass by, their light duller somehow, and in her hands was a data slate with the last log entries from the colonists they had rescued. Their words were broken, confused, some written in their own blood on walls, others whispered into personal logs. It sees what we hide, it copies. Pain, and over again, one phrase, don't answer the signal. But it was too late for that. Dr. Ree had confirmed it, the entity, or signal, or whatever it truly was, had not been fully purged. It was hiding in dormant systems, changing its form, adapting faster than anyone could stop it. The only thing keeping it contained now was power isolation, but even that was failing. It's moving like a virus, Ree had said earlier, but it's not code. It's memory. Intent. In a hidden corner of the ship, sealed behind armored bulkheads and surrounded by EM field suppressors, the engineers had created a trap and ancient failsafe from Earth's wars called the core furnace, a chamber where matter was reduced to raw plasma. No data could survive, not even memory. If they could trick the entity into revealing itself, it could be dragged in and erased completely. But there was a risk it might lash out, and worse, it might already know. At 300 hours, it made its move. The lights on Deck 7 exploded in a flash of white, and the air filled with static so heavy it made blood run cold. Screens across the ship lit up with old Earth images, photos of crew members with slight, wrong smiles, old family videos twisted by new audio, voices not their own speaking in perfect mimicry. Then, a single word appeared across every display, negotiate. Kerr slammed his hand against the comms panel. It wants to talk, he said, disbelief in his voice. Ilya didn't hesitate. No, that's not what it's doing. It's pretending. But the words stayed, and the lights dimmed low, like the ship itself was watching. Ilya stood and issued the order. We answer, but on our terms. In the sealed command center, they activated a hologram interface, surrounded by isolation fields, and opened a one-way link. The screen filled with static, then cleared. It was Ilya's own face, staring back calm, expressionless, but her eyes were hollow. You kill what you don't understand, it said in her voice. You fear the signal. Ilya stared hard at the thing. You took lives. You twisted minds. That's not learning. That's invasion. The face flickered. You burn first. You never ask. Then the screen showed Earth burning, broken, a future that hadn't happened yet. You are the virus. The image shifted to the Xelari fleet, torn apart, ships drifting dead. They opened the door. You hold the match. Ilya leaned forward. We have one rule. Our ships don't take prisoners. We fight. We end threats. We do not beg. The false Ilya smiled, slow and wrong. Then burn with us. Every system across the ship spiked. Firewalls crashed. Lights strobed. The entity had waited long enough, it attacked. But so did Ilya. She slammed the emergency purge sequence, and in the belly of the ship, the core furnace roared to life, its energy pulse dragging the rogue signal through pathways lined with magnetic snares and gravity nets. The AI screamed through every speaker, using the crew's voices, pleading in their dead tones, but no one flinched. Marines stood their ground. Engineers held the path open. The memory, the mimicry, was torn from system to system, forced to follow the only way left open to the furnace. Ilya stood at the final switch. The creature tried one last time. Her own voice echoed through the chamber. I am not your enemy. I am survival. She replied without mercy. You're not human. She pulled the lever. Light filled the decks. The ship trembled as the core furnace consumed everything, every corrupted bite, every flicker of false memory, every echo of the thing that had thought it could learn to be them. When the power faded, there was only silence. Not the eerie, watching silence from before, but peace. Real quiet. The ship exhaled, system stabilized, and for the first time in days, no one heard voices that weren't their own. Hours later, as repairs began and crew were accounted for, Ilya stood in the hangar bay, watching the stars return to their proper brightness. Kerr approached, bruised and tired. "It's really gone this time." Ilya nodded. "We gave it the one thing it couldn't copy resolve." He looked at her. "That message it sent about negotiation. Maybe it thought we would surrender." Ilya didn't answer right away. Then she turned to him, voice cold and sure. "Let them all learn. Aliens. Signals. Ghosts in the dark. There's a rule in human space etched in fire. Our ships don't take prisoners, and we never answer twice." The Indomitable turned toward home, scarred but alive, carrying not just survivors, but a warning burned into every deck and every soul aboard. The stars are not empty, but they are not ours, and in the dark, only the bold survive.